The Singer Start 1304 sewing machine is actually really easy to thread and wind a bobbin. And that's what we're going to get started with right now. I have just opened this machine out of the box, and I want to show you one thing before we totally get started. When I opened it, I found that there was a bobbin that was used as a spool wound already with white thread on it. The machine was threaded, and there was a white bobbin down below in the bobbin case. I decided to sew on it just to give myself make sure everything was working as it should right out of the box. But I did notice on my white thread, as I started to stitch, you notice it is dark gray, and then lighter gray and lighter gray. So when machines are shipped, they are shipped and they are oiled. And if you had stitched with this white thread on white fabric, you would have gotten kind of an oil stain. But the more I stitch, maybe 2 or 3 more times here, you're going to find that actually that last one, it looks really good. You clear out kind of the oil that might have pooled when it first got to you. So that's just something to be aware of anytime that you open up a brand new machine. So here's what I'm going to do. Like I said, you do have white thread on a bobbin, and actually you have 2 of them. But I am going to start from the beginning of winding a bobbin from scratch. We're going to talk about good quality thread. We'll talk about needles along the way. We'll talk about how to put a bobbin in correctly into the bobbin case that's down below here. So actually, so I can show you where that bobbin is, you're going to slide the accessory box off to the left. This is where your accessories will be stored. I've already taken mine out, but you can easily put them in there, close the door, and put them in place. I'll probably keep this off from time to time because we'll be getting into our bobbin area. As you reach in here, you're going to notice there is a latch. So this latch is what will allow you to lift and then pull it out. So there's that other white bobbin we were talking about. If it doesn't want to come out, you are going to just need to give it a little tap and pull it out. So we're going to start with a fresh bobbin. Bobbins are not something that you mix and match. So do make sure that you have, if you're buying extra bobbins, you buy them exactly for this machine. Just because they look similar but a different height, that does not mean that they work. These are class 15 bobbins, and you want the plastic ones, not the metal ones, and they're very easy to find. You should be able to find them just about anywhere. So let's start by winding a bobbin. So good quality thread. Let me tell you something. At our store, we sell good quality thread. We always have to teach people about this. So let me do it now with you. When you put good quality thread on a sewing machine, you're going to get better results. So if you've got grandma's 30-year-old thread, it's going to be okay. You can use it, but if you're not getting the results from your machine that you're looking for, it could be the thread. Just switch the thread. The more expensive the thread, the better it is. So if you are paying 50 cents a spool for it, okay, you're getting that kind of quality. Let's up your game a little bit. You've got a great machine here, but if you feed it good food, it will treat you well. I think that's kind of a very... we know that from our own bodies. If we feed it good, it's like a healthy machine, a healthy body. Okay, so we're going to start up at the top. There are arrows for all of our places that we will be taking our thread through the guides. So I've already put one of the little felt pads on each of the spool pins just to help keep this a little quieter, and it will just spin nice and easy. Go ahead and come underneath this first guide. Again, we're following the arrows. And for winding a bobbin, we're going to use this little, what's called a pre-tensioner. It's kind of a little button and it's spring loaded. And that is where we're going to come around it in the direction it shows. We're kind of coming in, click underneath it. Make sure you give it a little click and cross over. We do not use this when we thread the machine. So when we're done winding a bobbin, I'm going to undo this and then follow the other picture for threading the machine. So take a bobbin. You are going to notice that the bobbins have a hole in them. Not all the dots are open holes, so find one that's open. And we're going to take the thread from the inside and then out the top. And then you're going to hold onto that thread. When you take your bobbin, set it on the bobbin winder, and then push it to the right to engage. Now when I step on the foot control, I'm going to hold my thread directly above the bobbin and don't let go. See how it's going to just start to wind? Now if you've ever wound a bobbin and it's kind of fluffy or squishy, it's not real tight, it's because we didn't have that underneath, that pre-tensioner. That is on every machine ever made. All right, so here we go. I'm going to wind it and I'm going to pull this off. and break it off. Now, if there's a little tail sticking up once you stop, I need you to cut it off. We can't have any thread coming up and interfering with the way the machine is going to use that bobbin. So let's go ahead and fill a full bobbin. It will stop when it's full. Wow, that goes fast. Now, if this is going to fly off, you can put your little finger on there and just keep it from going off. So you can kind of see how it stopped spinning, and I can see I could probably put a little bit more thread on. So this little stopper, if you actually loosen this screw right here, can actually be adjusted just a little bit further out, and then it wouldn't stop so soon. Actually, it is more than plenty full. I am going to clip it. Now let me show you something since we're right here. We're going to put the bobbin in the bobbin case, and there is a right and wrong way to put this in. So as you slide this back and bring it up, if you actually flip the bobbin over and then put it in the bobbin case, the bobbin needs to spin clockwise. And the reason for it is the thread needs to come off the clockwise side, and we're reaching down and we're putting it into that little groove along the side. There's a little opening. I want you to put your finger on the top so it stops spinning, and then slide it along the bobbin case and down underneath that little kind of spring. It's just right up against the edge, and then you see where it's like a little C area right down here? That's where the thread is going to hang out. Now, it doesn't matter if the thread is on the right or left side of that little finger, but let me show you a little trick. The finger will be up when we go to put it down here into the machine. But if you become left-handed, so you left-handers out there, sewing machines are made for you, you're going to take your left index finger and hold it like this. Now, if you're holding on to that little lever that I pulled out, it actually locks the bobbin in. So if you're trying to get your bobbin to fall out, let go of the latch, and then it will actually come out. But it is easier to hold it with your left hand and put it in down below here than trying to hold it with your right hand or thumb. It's kind of awkward with my right hand. So little tip, and let me show you how we're going to put it in the machine and then finish threading the machine. So if you look down in the bobbin area, you'll notice there's a little notch or cutout at the top. That is where that little finger needs to sit. So I'm going to take my left index finger, hold onto the latch, and push my bobbin case all the way in until the finger goes into its little slot, and then make sure you push it until it can't go any further. Now I'm going to leave this door open and the little thread hanging out, and after we thread the needle, I'm going to show you how to bring this thread up to the top to begin to sew. So back up at the top here, do you remember that little pre-tensioner? I'm going to undo the pre-tensioner, and I'm coming around the back like the picture shows me, and I'm going to come down here. But I'm going to talk about what's happening right down in here. This is the part people do get in trouble with, and let me show you just a couple easy steps that will help. Number one, if this is not at the highest position right now, go ahead and turn it so it just comes right above the housing of the machine. Next, make sure your presser foot is up. When the presser foot is up, the tension discs, yes, the tension itself, and that's why the dial's right here, are open. Okay? And when you thread the machine, I want you to come all the way down, and you'll see the little U shape because we're going to come up. Now, if you want to make sure your machine is threaded correctly, take your thread, stop right here, and come up to the top, and do that little flossing action. I'm just going back and forth. And it makes sure the thread goes as far down to the correct place that it needs to sit for the sewing machine to work. When people don't thread that tension area, that's when you get that big gobbledygook mess on the back of your fabric, and people always blame their machine. Well, it's actually the person not threading the machine correctly. So that's why I'm going to tell you now, and I'll mention that throughout our videos to help you understand how and why that's so important. Okay, so I've come down, I did a little floss, I'm following underneath and up. I'm going to come in on the right, over and down on the left, and that hooks it in that little take-up lever right here. Next, come all the way down, and there is one guide at the top of the needle. You're just going to slip it around there, and now you will go ahead and thread the needle itself. Lowering the presser foot could give you a little bit more room, and there are handheld needle threaders, if you cannot see that needle, that you could purchase, and that would help you push your thread through the needle. Okay, so I lifted the foot back up. I could have done this with the foot down, but I want to show you how we bring our bobbin thread up, and then we'll start to sew. Hold the thread from the needle with your left hand. Come over to the side of the machine, and we're always turning the machine towards us. So the hand wheel never really goes backwards, always towards us. And you're going to take one full stitch. Now the full stitch means that this part here comes up above the housing. And if you look, attached to my thread is a loop. And that loop is this bobbin thread. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the bobbin thread up. Slide it underneath the presser foot, down the middle. There's a little groove, and to the back. Then close up the door. If you do want to put the little kind of front area on, that gives you a little workspace. We're going to put our fabric in, lower the presser foot. That's key to sewing. And for a straight stitch, let's just be on the middle size for getting started, and go ahead and stitch. She sounds good, so that means you threaded it correctly. Now when you stop, if the needle's in the fabric, you need to bring that all the way up, again turning towards you, and then all the way to the highest position. If you start and stop with this at the highest position, you will find your sewing is going to be much more successful. Lift up the presser foot, pull your fabric out. There is a little cutter on the side of the machine. You can go from front to back or back to front. And look, we have a beautiful stitch. It looks the same on the front as it does on the back. So if you want to try another stitch, how about a zigzag? Let's go middle zigzag. Go ahead and stitch. This is what it should look like and sound like when you have correctly threaded the machine. Now here's a little bit. See, the needle is up, but the take-up lever is not. So I'm going to turn my hand wheel, bring that all the way to the highest position, then lift the foot up. If you do that every time you sew and you do that habit, I guarantee things are going to work. And I'm going to explain why that is so important. But look at that. Beautiful. We've got it. So let's get into all the other things that this machine will do, even though it only has 6 stitches.